to thank you for watching our podcast. We are studying through the book of 2 Corinthians, and today we're in 2 Corinthians, the 8th chapter, starting with verse number 16. Now, we're moving through this quite quickly, and the reason why is the Apostle Paul is just saying things that are very easy to understand. There's not a lot of explanation that needs to take place. As long as you know the background and the context of what he's talking about, you know what? You can understand everything that the Apostle Paul is talking about as he teaches on taking of an offering and the giving of an offering. Now we're heading into a little bit different area, because now Paul starts talking about his companions. He starts talking about the men who are going to go and receive this offering. Now, eventually, the Apostle Paul himself will go to Corinth, but he's sending on a delegation ahead of time. And so we pick up now in 2 Corinthians, the 8th chapter, verse number 16. But thanks be to God who puts the same earnest on your behalf in the heart of Titus. Again, we're talking about Titus. Titus was a man who traveled with the Apostle Paul. Titus was also an apostle himself, and we'll get into that later. But Titus had an earnest. He had a deep desire. Here we see this word earnest again, or earnestness. It's talking about a deep down desire. Let me just say this. If you're looking for the will of God, let me ask you to do this. Take a look at what your godly desires are. You say, well, I just have to be a missionary. I want to be a missionary. Your earnest desire is to be a missionary. Oh, I just want to pastor a church. I just want to be a Christian businessman. I just want to... What is your desire? I've counseled with so many people, and they say, I don't know the will of God. And I look at them and I said, as you stand before God, what is the desire of your heart? You see, the Apostle Paul tells us that Titus had the same earnest desire on their behalf. In other words, Titus had a deep down desire on the inside of him for Corinth. Not for Ephesus, not for Thessalonica, not for Rome, not for Jerusalem, but Titus had a deep down desire for the people in Corinth, and Paul recognizes this desire. He knows that Titus needs to go. In fact, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Please listen to me. If you're looking for the will of God, and I'm talking very much like vocational type of will of God, what's the deep desire that you have? I'm not talking about an evil desire. I'm talking about the desire that's on your heart before God. Paul recognizes this earnest desire in Titus, and we're going back to verse number 16. But thanks be to God who puts the same desire, earnestness, on your behalf. Now notice here that the desire came from God. So, and then the last part of verse number 16, on your behalf into the heart of Titus. Where did that desire reign? It reigned in the heart of Titus. Verse number 17. For he not only accepted our appeal. In other words, the Apostle Paul said to Titus, Titus, you need to go. Not only did he accept our appeal, but being himself very earnest, there's that word again, earnest, because he had a very strong desire for the Corinthians. He had a very strong desire to see the Corinthians give in this offering. But being himself very earnest, he has gone to you on his own accord. Now, what in the world does that mean? That means that Titus went and paid it out of his own pocket. He's already left. The Apostle Paul didn't say, "Now, come on, Titus, get going. Come on, Titus." How many of you realize that if you've constantly have to bug people about doing something, that their problem is not their laziness, their problem is their desire. Either they're being told to do something that they don't desire to do, or they are not listening to the desire that's on their heart to do it. They're afraid of doing it. So Paul is saying of Titus, he said he went on his own accord. I didn't have to bug him no more. He said he accepted our appeal. He accepted what we said to you about the offering. And then what did he do? He just took off and went. He took off and went on his own accord. Wow. I'm looking forward to heaven. And one of the things I'm looking forward in heaven is seeing Jesus, of course. But I'm going to have a good time with Titus. I'm going to have several lunches, I think, with Titus. Because this man was amazing. But Paul doesn't end there. Verse number 18. For we have sent along with him a brother whose fame in the things of the gospel has spread through all the churches. Not only this, but he has also been appointed by the churches to travel with us in this gracious work, which is being administered by us for the glory of the Lord himself, and to show our readiness. Who is this person that the Apostle Paul is talking about? Well, we believe that this man was the man named Luke. We believe that because of this description and because of historical facts of what Luke did, we believe that Luke went along with Titus, and he went along with Titus to go to Corinth to receive this offering. It says here, we have sent him, along with him, the brother whose fame in the things of the gospel has spread through all the churches. Luke had already developed a fame that was in the gospel. He knew Jesus. He knew what Jesus did. He wrote the Gospel of Luke. And then in verse number 19, not only this, but he has also been appointed by the churches to travel with us in the gracious work. Luke was appointed by the churches. It's very important that a person's not only called, but that they are appointed by the churches, and he was appointed by the churches to travel and to be part of this gracious work. And again, this gracious work is the receiving of this offering, which is being administered by us for the glory of the Lord himself. Why is Paul taking this offering? Well, first of all, it's being administered by the Lord to bring glory to the Lord himself. You see, when an offering is administered, it needs to be administered in a way where Jesus is glorified. And then the last part of verse number 9, and to show your readiness. Again, this offering was taken to show the readiness, the eagerness of the Corinthians to bless the people in the city of Jerusalem. Thank you for watching. Join us again tomorrow as we continue our study in the book of 2 Corinthians.